Welcome to the Bear Cave. We are going to be doing a mock draft for the Chicago Bears today. We're with Steve from CFC Bears. So let's kind of discuss strategy here. Last time me and Dobbs did a mock, we ended up getting Abdul Carter. Now, we were drafting from the 7th spot. I don't think he's going to be there, obviously. So before we go into this, I think we can all kind of understand that O-line and D-line are probably what we want to target early on. My dislike personally with the Bears picks that they have right now, guys, is after pick 72, they don't have another pick from like till 148. And I think that's a big gap. Obviously, I believe that fourth is from last year when they traded in to get Austin Booker from the Bills. So maybe we can, navigate that. But outside of that, is there anything kind of that you want to discuss prior to going in here?
I think the Bears are in prime kind of trade down spot. So
I
that's
agree.
kind of going into it. Every mock I do, that's what I'm thinking. Unless at 10, like Mason Graham is there. Like
Yeah.
someone like that falls, then you just take them and don't think too hard about it. But I think they're just in prime trade back territory. You can pick up probably another day 2 pick. Also, that 4th round pick that they're missing, you can pick that up too, which is really nice. So that's kind of my mindset whenever I go into a mock draft at this point in time. And I think the way it's going to play out on draft day, and it's so early, but the way it seems like it's going to play out right now is that they're going to miss out on some of those top guys. And they're going to be in a position you could draft Will Campbell or someone like that who would be fine. Or you could trade back a few spots, get a different offensive lineman if you're going to go that route and still pick up some picks. And I don't think the fall off is as big as we thought it was earlier in the cycle.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is last year I did not want to trade down from 9. This year I am 100% okay trading down. I think especially with a new coach in there who's probably going to want a little bit of his own personnel, I think they're probably going to try to accumulate more picks. So, all right, let's go ahead and start the draft. So, at 10, we have Ashton Jeanty, we have Will Campbell. I think here's my thing. In the past, I have taken Will Campbell, but to me, I think if you're going to take Will Campbell at this spot, you have enough to address on the interior of the offensive line that I don't see Will Campbell as a replacement for Braxton Jones, at least throughout his rookie year. Yeah. I feel like you'd probably slot him in at guard. So I guess that depends on if you believe, trading back, accumulating extra picks is better than getting Will Campbell, because the Bears do have 39 and 41 in the draft, and there are some good second-round interior guys.
Sure.
I wonder if the value is better trading back. Now, let's say we trade back later into the first round. Let's take a look here. So it looks like the Colts at 14, the Chargers at 22, the Rams at 26, and the Browns at 33. Now, obviously, that's second round. But where do you think the Bears would be comfortable trading back in this spot?
For me personally, I don't know about the Bears, but if I'm trading back, I'm trying to almost trade back into like the late teens. I don't like 14. I would do it if like that's the best offer you get.
Yeah.
What was the other team? I can't see.
Well, the Chargers are.
What pick are they at?
The Chargers are at 22.
22. I wouldn't hate that. That's probably a little bit farther back than I want to trade, but I wouldn't hate that either. But it's just because I think if you're trading back, that means you have multiple people on the board that you want. And this draft, once you get out of the top guys from like picks 10 to 32, essentially that whole range, like there's not much separating like these guys in my mind. And maybe that changes when the combine comes around. But for right now, like there's not a big difference between, I think Will Campbell's the best offensive lineman in the draft, but I don't think there's a huge drop off between Simmons and Connerly and even some of the interior guys here. So to me, it makes sense to trade back. The reason I do like Will Campbell though here, I would be fine with taking Will Campbell, is like you said, you play him at left guard year one and you keep Braxton Jones, because any tackle you draft, even a top tackle, there's no guarantee he's an improvement on Braxton Jones his first year. You drafted him for year 2 and year 3 and what you'll get there, but there's no guarantee that they will be that next year. So you draft Will Campbell play him at guard, and then slide him over to left tackle and maybe trade Braxton Jones or do whatever you need, or let Braxton Jones walk after next year, whatever it is. And then you have your tackle of the future, so you can kind of serve two roles. Like Simmons and Connerly, who two guys I like, two tackles that I like. I don't know if you can do that with them.
Yeah.
They're not really great interior guys.
Yeah, the versatility is definitely huge. I mean, personally, Dobbs, I don't know how you feel, but I'm okay with Campbell here. Like Campbell to me at 10, like that's the player. Like I think if Graham, Abdul Carter, and Will Campbell are all gone at 10, I think you got to trade back. I think Campbell falling to 10 is kind of not a consolation prize, but kind of the last out of that group that you'd want to stay put.
No, for sure. Again, like I've said, I mean, I think in real life, the Saints would have snagged him, right? And he would probably be off the board. So for him to be sitting here at 10, W for the Bears. And again, as the LSU fan here, I think I'm again, I do view him as either a guard or again, and I know like not a lot of people talk about it, but I could even see him kind of this year's Graham Barton, right? Like some team saying, I want to slide him even to center. And you still would be getting really good value. But I think that, yeah, the Bears sliding him to guard, power move. He could be the Bears' Quentin Nelson, right? So and if you look at it like that, I'd say you're getting great value.
All right, well, let's take Will Campbell then, and then let's figure out what we want to do in the second round. I do think this is one of those situations where it's like you take Will Campbell, you move my interior, and people may give you shit for it. It's like, oh, you took a guard that early, but I do think the interior, the O-line is super important. Like, I think it's kind of, how like everyone a couple years ago was like, you got to have the edge rushers. And now the conversation is you got to have a dominant force inside to, kill the play. I think I'm not saying that tackle is less important than guard, but I think like the importance on the O-line, whether interior or on the edge, is kind of not the same, but closer than it's ever been, I would say.
The Chiefs are proving you're right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think guards are approaching almost just as important as tackles if they're not there already. So yeah, I think Will Campbell it's not a sexy pick at all.
No,
but it's probably the right pick.
The sexy pick was Rome Odunze last year.
Yeah,
it's interior now.
Right. Yeah. So I think that would be a home run if that's how it ends up.
So now on the board, I'm assuming you want to stay, unless you guys have any ideas. I would probably stick with interior defensive linemen, edges, or, O linemen. I honestly think the Bears need to use all three picks on trenches, the first three picks at least.
Absolutely.
Is there anybody here that you guys are liking specifically at 39? We have two of the next three picks. So,
yeah, I love TJ Sanders. And he's the top guy on the board here. I want to see kind of who else is there, but yeah, if you're talking about like that penetrating three technique, that's the kind of the guy you want here. With offensive linemen, like I would be more than okay with drafting two offensive linemen. You got to assume they're going to sign an offensive lineman. Maybe Trey Smith probably isn't going to free agency, but maybe you could sign a Kevin Zeitler or someone else, Mekhi Becton, something like you can't go into this needing to get two offensive linemen with your first two picks. So I'm assuming with that assumption that you probably don't need another offensive tackle here. But I like Sanders. I like Omar Norman Lott. All these edges are intriguing. But no one's really jumping out at me.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're gonna have to go into free agency and get an IOL or even just like a swing guy. I mean,
yeah.
Especially with the center class. I mean, you could go out and get Ryan Kelly from the Colts. I don't know if they're going to be bringing him back. I don't think Trey Smith is going to hit free agency. I think Joe Thuney is more likely to hit free agency personally.
Yeah.
Just because he's older. Now obviously there's he's still on the books, but they got to figure that out. I mean, so what is? I guess give me the breakdown in between TJ Sanders and Omar Norman Lott. Like the difference in them, because, unfortunately we drafted a University of South Carolina player a couple years ago, and that did not work out. He might be one of the worst players on the team. So
yeah. Sanders is much different than Pickens was. Much better prospect. I liked Pickens coming out. I think he kind of got unfair. I don't think the coaching staff knew what to do with him. They drafted him and put him at one technique, nose tackle, which was not his skill set. But Sanders is more of that traditional, 3 technique. He's got good size. In terms of like Sanders and Norman Lott, I probably view them pretty similarly, but I probably do have Sanders ahead of him. He's got more size, better length. Norman Lott is really intriguing and flashes a lot of potential, but he was basically a situational pass rusher at Tennessee.
Gotcha.
Like he didn't play. There were games where he didn't play 20 snaps in a game, like multiple games. So it's hard for me to take that guy this high because there are just too many question marks. Like if you're just getting a situational pass rusher a situational pass rusher who didn't necessarily dominate as much as you want him to. So I would go Sanders here. The other guy is Mike Green. I missed him the first time we were looking, but I think Mike Green would be the best of these edge class here. I know my buddy Tom, who does building the board with me, absolutely loves Mike Green. I still need to watch him a little bit more. But based on what he's said, like he thinks he's going late first round probably. So I think Green or Sanders would be the pick. It just kind of depends what the Bears do in free agency, which we don't really know. But I would say Green probably. Both those guys have really high upside. I think Green probably has a little bit higher upside.
Yeah.
So both those guys would be good picks.
I know, taking the words out of my mouth, like everything I'm thinking, you're saying it. Like we're on the same wavelength right now.
Perfect.
I think the thing, Dobbs, also when we think about like the defensive line with the Bears is, so you have Austin Booker, who, in my opinion, he's a while away. Like he was a project when they drafted him. You have Montez Sweat, and when you look at the interior, like I'm interested to see who they bring in DC because I want to know if they're going to change their scheme. But when you look at the interior, you have Gervon Dexter, who had a good year, and you have Andrew Billings if he comes back healthy. I think you actually have more issues on the edge than you do on the interior. So I would personally lean Mike Green. Dobbs, what are you thinking? Like just seeing how the Bears D line operates.
See, it is very tough. My honest thoughts is this, gang. Here's what I would say.
Well, also something to think about for all of us. There's a possibility we could just draft both of them. We could just draft both.
No, I was gonna say no. Like, okay, so we're on the same wavelength. What I would say is this: look, assuming that one of the two was gonna go next, right? In the chance of the simulation, slim chance. I would say this. I think the more important thing is right now. I'm with you, Hunter. It is the edge. However, like we were saying, we were coming into the discussion. The interior has never been more important on both sides, right? And I think it's very good to have a deep rotation. To your point, Hunter, yeah, they have right. If Billings comes back, 2 good, solid starters, but you want to have a good deep rotation in that department. However, I think the big thing is, like we were saying about Mike Green, is that if you pass on Mike Green here and then he goes next pick in hypothetical, and then you look back in a few years and he is at that ceiling where he's getting 10 plus sacks a season, and you're like, wow, we could have had that guy right there. I'm going to say, I guess, that it's like 51-49, but I probably do lean toward taking Mike Green over Sanders, assuming we'll probably be able to get both anyway. So
I think Mike Green's a better prospect, and like looking at the edges here, Green's a clear step up on all of these edges, whereas Sanders and Norman Lott are a little bit closer. So
gotcha.
If one of those goes, you get just take the other one.
All right, let's take Mike Green here at 39. Oh, well, so he's there. So I guess my thing is I'm okay with taking Sanders here. I think that would be a good haul. The next thing we have to think about, though, is let's just say there's a right guard and a center position, right? Let's say they fill the center position in free agency because the class is a little bit thin this year. We're probably going to have to address our right guard in the 3rd round. Steve, do you think there's like viable options there when we get to 72? Probably.
I'd have to. Can you pull up the guard list?
Yeah. My bad.
No, for sure.
Because I think Sanders here would be a good pool. Right now we have Booker, Ratledge.
Yeah. So man, this is it. Well, pull up offensive tackle too. Because
I forgot. We can slot some guys in. Yeah.
Fall in there because like Zabel. I mean, he's at the top of the board there. He could. I mean. Savanea to Marcus and Bow. I like all those guys.
Gotcha.
Zabel. Yeah, Zabel. I mean, Zabel's not going to be there next.
Zabel's going to be gone. Yeah.
Booker probably won't. Savanea probably won't. So then, can you scroll down? You're probably looking at Marcus and Bow, Charles Grant, Tate Ratledge, Donovan Jackson. Yeah, I mean, Donovan Jackson, Tate Ratledge. Not going to say Charles Grant because he's a small school guy, but because I want to stay away from small school guys this year.
Yeah. Ryan Pohl's favorite.
And the other guy who was it? Tate Ratledge. Both those guys would be good picks in the third. But who's the D tackle we get at the next pick? I'm curious about that. That's kind of what you're weighing.
DI.
So then we would be looking
Deion Walker might be there. Obviously, I feel like PFF needs to upgrade some of these rankings.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean,
Harmon definitely would be a solid 2. I just think, if we're being honest, though, this is just my opinion. You know, you let me know what you guys are thinking too, but I do feel like Sanders is like a big boom over the difference that we have with the volatility with the guard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we have a lot more options.
More options with guards in the third.
With guard, then I feel like TJ Sanders is like, it's a relatively big gap.
I'd much rather have Tate Ratledge or who was the other good guard there? Tate Ratledge or
where was it?
Tyler Booker? No, it wasn't Tyler Booker.
No, let me see.
Tyler Booker falls.
It was an offensive tackle. It was Donovan Jackson.
Donovan Jackson, okay.
Or Tate Ratledge. I'd rather have them than those third round D tackles.
Let's go TJ Sanders then.
Maybe Tyler Booker falls to his 2 and we're all of a sudden we're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
All right. TJ Sanders at pick 41. All right, let's go to pick 72. I mean, I think Booker will probably be taken more in the second round. I don't know. Yeah. I think we're actually, my guess would be like the guards actually, I feel like there's a run on guards in the second round. Probably.
There he is. I mean, he's there,
but look at that.
I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think he's going to be there.
You never know with O-linemen, though. It is very weird every year where there's O-line. It's kind of like where, there's always positions where sometimes you're like, oh, for sure. And even with trenches in general, you're like, he's a lock to go at a certain point. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute. Like, why do other teams not? But I'm with you, Hunter, where I don't think he will still be here.
It's tough because it's any position. The draft is so unpredictable. Like, guys fall all the time. I'd have a really hard time believing that Tyler Booker is going to be available at 72. But, I mean, I always say this, though. It's the simulation. The simulation is there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know more than the computers. Like, trust the computer overlords. Like, Tyler Booker.
I do think Mbow, Ratledge, or Jackson are more realistic here.
Yeah, I'm okay with keeping it more realistic.
I wouldn't mind Ratledge at all either, too. I mean, look, I think we're, it's not like there's a humongous gap there either.
Yeah, and if we are slotting Campbell in at left guard and you're looking for a true right guard, that'd be Ratledge. I mean, if you draft Donovan Jackson or Marcus Mbow, well, Mbow played a little bit of right guard, but Donovan Jackson's played only on the left-hand side. So if you take him, you're moving him sides, which I don't like. So even though I think I'd have Donovan Jackson as a better prospect than Tate Ratledge, if you just want to get a guy who's slotting in at right guard, I'd probably go Ratledge because they're similar in terms of projection, I think.
I think the benefit of taking Jackson is the versatility with tackle. But I do think it would be nice if the Bears just drafted a player and played him at their natural position.
They never do it.
No, they never do it. They literally have never done this. Like growing up watching the Bears, the amount of O-line combinations that they have and players. I mean, think about it. Tevin Jenkins wasn't even a guard at first. He was playing tackle. I mean, he got better, but Tate Ratledge to me, this is like Tate Ratledge to me and I need to watch him more. That to me strikes me as just kind of that nasty, Southern O lineman that the Bears kind of lack. Yeah. And I think it could add to them. I mean, because let's say they get a center in free agency, then you're looking at Tate Ratledge, Darnell Wright on the right side, Will Campbell, Braxton Jones on the left side. That's a very improved O line from last year. I don't think that would be a bad take. Now, let me ask you a question, Steve, about Mbow. Is he one of the smaller O linemen, or am I thinking somewhere else? Because
he's skinny. He has a skinny build. So when you look, he's listed like 6'5", 300. But when you look at him, he looks like he's playing more like 280. But it's a verified weight that he's over 300. Gotcha. I know a lot of people see him as a center, which
that's okay. Yeah, okay, that's what I remember. I heard.
I like that too. But I was actually looking into it, because the tackle to center transition is talked about a lot in the draft process. It rarely happens. I mean, it happened with Graham Barton just this year, but looking back, it actually rarely happens. And if it does happen, it rarely works out. So I think he would be more. I actually like him better just keeping him at tackle, at right tackle, which the Bears don't need. So yeah, if we're talking just again, with Ratledge and Jackson as prospects, I have Jackson a little bit higher. I think he's a better player, but if you just want a right guard, if you click on Tate Ratledge again, because I just want to point one thing out. Ratledge got injured.
Yes, he was. I know he was out,
and he was not as good post injury. You could see that dip, like the Tennessee game. You see, those 3 games dipped. It was noticeable that he was not healthy. But his early season tape was really, really good, and I'm choosing to trust the early season tape before the injury than anything in the late season, because he was not as good late season. But I think he's just, like you said, he brings the kind of that edge to the offensive line that I think they need. I think him and Darnell Wright on the right side would be really nice.
I'm good with either. I think with what you're saying in terms of like Jackson being the better prospect and the fact that he has that versatility on the offensive line, I think the Bears would value that. Now, personally, I would want Ratledge. That's me. But I'm open to the idea of taking Donovan Jackson, having that versatility, having more of that upside, I guess. Because Jackson is a little bit more athletic than Ratledge, correct?
For sure, yeah. It's upside versus floor. I think Ratledge has a better floor, but he does have the injury concerns. Like, it was an undisclosed injury, so I actually don't even know what it is. It obviously wasn't enough to like knock him out for a long time, but he played through it. So, but Jackson also, I guess now I'm talking to Jackson also had an injury this year, which was also undisclosed.
Oh yeah, he was out for the first half
of the season.
Okay.
So yeah, he's the upside play. Ratledge is the safe play, and to me, the Bears need more safe plays right now than they need upside plays.
That was exactly
they need guys who can play football. And if you get just like an average guard, that's absolutely fantastic. I'd love that. Give me an average offensive lineman for once.
Yeah, one that was my whole thing, is like they were talking about like how many games like Tevin Jenkins played, like started, and I'm like, but I want to know how many quarters he's played, because there were so many times in a game where he would start and then he would just come out, and Matt Pryor ended up just being our guard.
Right.
So
who didn't play? Matt Pryor didn't play too bad.
No, I would bring him back
for sure. Not Jake Curhan was terrible. He should never be re-signed, but Pryor did okay.
All right, let's go with Ratledge here. So in our first 4 picks, we got Will Campbell, Mike Green, TJ Sanders, and Tate Ratledge. I am very happy with that. If the Bears did that, I would be ecstatic.
That's 2 high floor offensive linemen. You've kind of addressed that, and then 2 just like big swings on your defensive line. Just 2 athletic guys that they might not have it all like right now, but they're toolsy and they're going to be able to make an impact just with their tools. And then hopefully they get some technique later on and then turn into a complete player. But yeah, I like this draft so far.
Now, I'm a big fan of the first three rounds.
I think my issue comes to where we're at now. I think there's a lot of valuable players in between their 3rd round pick and their 5th round pick. And that's why I think a trade back would have been advantageous. Now, we can always do that in a later mock, but now we're kind of at a situation where it's like, what do we want to address? Because you can find another O-lineman, but I think this is kind of where you start to look for running back or maybe a safety or someone like that. So where do you guys think we should head?
Yeah, I think we can go a lot of running back, even wide receiver too. I mean, it depends what they do with Keenan Allen. But they could always use more weapons, safety, even a deep cornerback. I saw Braden Swinson was on the board. That's very unrealistic. PFF needs to update that.
We also we just have to disregard Kyron Lacey considering the news right now. I don't.
PFF no joke. I watched Kyron Lacey before this came out, and I was like, oh, this is like a pretty nice player to get in like the mid rounds. And I was like so close to making a video on him, and then literally this like the news broke, and I was like, okay, no, glad I didn't put out that video.
You can imagine my disappointment as an LSU fan. I literally, I mean, like an NFL team would have been getting a real nice steal, honestly, from my perspective.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Things change quickly though.
Yeah. All right, what are we looking at?
So we got Marcus Yarns from Delaware, Jordan James, Oregon.
Just give me a little scroll real quick, Hunter. Give me like a good give me like a good 30 scroll kind of slow.
I'm trying to remember what I heard about Marcus Yarns. I watched the running back video from NFL
Malachi
Stock
Moore
Exchange.
stands out for sure.
Yeah, Malachi Moore stands out for sure. I don't know why he's so low in this simulator. But
yeah, I don't know.
We were saying the same.
I was getting them in like
we got
the
him in
7th.
the last one we did too. We were saying the same thing.
Raheem Sanders is okay. Kobe Bryant too.
Funny enough, I think we got both of them.
We got
somehow
Kobe. No, I don't think we got Malachi Moore. I think we got Kobe Bryant with our last one, but I don't think he'll be. I don't think he'll be there in the 7th.
Well, that's okay. Like with both those guys, like they could be at this pick. Like I know it'd be a reach in this simulation, but I don't think it would be unrealistic in real life for them to be on the board at 148. And then like a lot of these guys, like just to be honest, like I haven't watched Marcus Yarns. I know nothing about him. Noah Williams, I've heard really good things. I just haven't watched him. You know, I'm focusing more O-line, D-line right now. So I like Taj Brooks as a running back. If that's the direction we want to go. He's the best running back that I saw. The thing about him is he has so many carries in his career.
A lot of mileage.
A lot of mileage on that. But I like what I saw there. I mean, Ollie Gordon's kind of the same way, just a lot of mileage, but a good player.
He didn't have a good year like last year.
He had a bad year this year, and I think that mileage was catching up to him in college, which is never a good thing. So I would probably go Brooks over him, but Ricky White.
I like Ricky
Elijah
White.
Clark. I have watched him. I liked what I saw from him for going safety, but I think I would go Malachi Moore over him.
Okay. I'm okay with going safety because Kevin Byard's got 1 year left on his deal. You don't know if Brisker can stay healthy.
And he's getting old. Just it's called the elephant in the room, you know? Like he's getting to that age. And he could be a good mentor for Malachi, you know, like perfect hypothetical.
Yeah. There's when he gets to the draft, like you're obviously going to draft for need a little bit in the beginning, but when you're at post pick 100, I don't even consider what they have. Just get a good player.
Best BPA,
BPA, especially this late in the draft. It's like who knows?
I would say Kobe or Malachi personally.
Yeah,
I think the athletic upside with Kobe, we have a really good floor with Malachi. I think we, but I think we can all handshake. I would definitely be on team Malachi.
I think I'm more leaning towards Malachi Moore just because I think we saw a little bit of issue with like. I don't want fucking Elijah Hicks and Jonathan Owens playing safety. And we saw a lot of that this year. So
I'm good with that.
I'm good with Malachi Moore.
Hunter Wohler is also a good player. Just want to shout him out. Malachi Moore is better.
Wait, Hunter, you mean you don't want to see more dancing after a tackle on 3rd and 17 where they allow
being down 20? Yeah.
You don't want to see more of that? What do you mean?
So embarrassing, dude. Like it's just like
that was actually probably the lowest point of the entire season, honestly.
You have a fired head coach. You are on a 10-game losing streak or however many game losing streak. You get a stop on 3rd down multiple points, and you're dancing.
Like, it was 9 at the time, if I'm not mistaken, but tragic. I think that was the lowest point of the entire season, honestly. I remember I texted you right away after that one.
It was bad. Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is, like, I don't know if there's, like, okay, let me ask you this.
Side note, the fact that Jackson Dart is still on the board to me is a little bit ridiculous. I'm just going to, even though obviously we're not considering that at all. I'm just personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree there.
At this point, I mean, Kobe Bryant's here. I don't think he'll be there. But I think when it comes to running backs, at this point, is it just worth to try to pick up like a UDFA?
I like Raheem Sanders. I think he gives you some upside.
What type of runner is he?
Late run. He's a bigger guy, but he's like a height, weight, speed, athleticism guy. Like the vision's lacking a little bit, but I think there's something there. I mean, we're talking about what are we in the 6th round? Like,
yeah, we only have 2 picks left.
You're not going to get anything like too crazy. So if you can get a running back here, is like okay, you can get someone who can make a contribution. But I'd also go back to the offensive line too. I mean, you could always use more offensive linemen, defensive linemen. And Drew, Jalen Rivers. I'll shout him out. I love Jalen Rivers. He's not going to be available in the 6th round, so like we shouldn't pick him.
Yeah.
But I love him a lot. He's going to be a guy who really rises. He's going to the Senior Bowl, and he's going to be good there.
Gotcha.
If we're looking for like a center, I like Cooper Mays a lot. Cooper Mays and Drew Kendall are the guys there that kind of. I think both those guys have starting down the road potential. Cooper Mays being a guy who's played a ton of snaps in the SEC at center.
That worked with like Cooper Beebe. He wasn't in the SEC, but he went to, he was good for the Cowboys this year.
Yeah. So if you sign like a Ryan Kelly, like that's not a long-term solution. So getting a center now and letting him kind of develop, he's a little undersized, but I think he has potential. And I like Drew Kendall
love
too.
That.
Although I've watched more Mays than I've watched Kendall.
Okay.
I would be on Team Mays. That's exactly what I was thinking in this slot too.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good with center just because I think you need as many swings at the O line as you can.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I think that if the Bears are able to trade back and pick up a 4th round pick, I feel like that would be a great option to go get a running back. I think I don't love Roshan Johnson as a running back. Like I don't know how much he's providing. Like I think yes, he is more of that like bigger bruising back, but I think they need like a real physical runner, and that's what they need to aim for in the draft.
Running back
so.
is a huge need for them. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should address it in the draft. And yeah, I think getting that 4th round seems to be that sweet spot for every draft class, but especially this one. It is such a deep running back class. I would hate not to get one, but we already missed the boat here, and it's fine. But yeah, I feel like they have to get someone. If we're talking like 4th round, it's like RJ Harvey from UCF. I really like Damian Martinez from Miami, like a guy like that who can really, especially Damian Martinez. He's more of that bigger bruiser guy who can pick up tough yards.
What do you think of the Rutgers running back, Manungai?
To be honest, I haven't watched him. My only experience with him is I bet 2 years ago I bet against Rutgers, and I didn't know who he was, and then he ran. I forget who I bet on, and he ran for like 200 yards. So I hate him. I think he sucks. That's all I got. Sorry, I don't have much there.
No, you're good. I heard some things about him. It was interesting. I want to go watch him, but I don't know. Seems like maybe a player the Bears would grab. But
no, I've heard good things. I heard good things about him. So definitely someone to keep an eye
on. Yeah. So I mean, at this point, I mean, this is usually where I'll look for like wide receiver or corner in the 7th. But I mean, I don't know. Is there any player of value that you see here that may be worth taking?
I'm sure there are.
At this point, it's just like I'm out of my depth now. Like at
BJ
this point,
Adams, BJ Adams. I haven't watched a ton of DBs, just like full disclosure. But I've watched BJ Adams, and the only reason I watched him is because I was watching someone else, some wide receiver. I can't remember who. And he was going up against UCF, and this guy had I think it was against Iowa State, the 90.1. It was Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins, and BJ Adams was making plays all over the place. So that was kind of my only experience with him. And I watched like another game, and I thought he was really good. He's going to the Senior Bowl, so any Senior Bowl guy, I don't know if he's going to be available at 235, but I think that would be a fine pick because, Joshua Gray, I don't really love. There's always guys in these simulators who you can get at like pick 300 who are never going to go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
we're still a ways away.
We'll find someone that will be like, no way. But yeah, I think BJ Adams would be a good pick. Ja'Cory Brooks is like a speed guy. If you want to get a wide receiver.
Here's my thing. Like, I think the Bears are going to go and try to get like a speed guy. Or no, I shouldn't say that. I would hope that with the new offensive coach, they're able to somehow utilize Tyler Scott.
Yes.
Why was he not used at all this year is beyond me. Maybe he sucks. I mean, it's very possible.
But figure it out. Find out if he's.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way that you can't incorporate this guy. He's the fastest receiver you have. It was pretty embarrassing.
But even just get him more sweeps. Get him you can get the ball in his hands easily. Just give him a chance to just open the space.
I'm down to do BJ Adams, the corner. I mean, I think corner is a place that you need to draft for depth anyway, and you can find some gems later on.
Yeah,
just pull the Patriots strategy.
And we don't know what defense they're going to be running, so
no.
And we don't. Maybe the new coaching staff comes in and says, "I don't want anything to do with Tyreek Stevenson," which I would not be surprised.
I would understand.
If you're spitting my language right now, bro.
I'm not saying I would do that. I want to give Tyreek Stevenson more chances, but it's possible that an NFL coach would be like, "No, I just don't want to deal with him."
It was over for me after the Washington game. You're a nicer guy than me. I look that was a low moment. That was a low moment.
I don't begrudge anyone who shares that opinion. I completely understand.
That was really a low moment. It's hard to top something that bad.
I look at it like this before we discuss this.
Malachi Moore F. What's up with that?
I mean, it was a huge reach in terms of the simulation, but I think it was the right pick.
Yeah. PFL. What's going on with that?
I think my thing is I always try to look at the bright side of things. I feel like that's what you have to do as a Bears fan. And I was thinking that, maybe if we didn't lose the Washington game, the Bears would have been just good enough to not fire Eberflus.
Yeah, I think so.
That's how I'm looking at it. Because we would have been pinned with him.
Yeah. We've been 5-2. Yeah, we probably would have won 7-8 games maybe, and
we would have been told progress with a rookie.
Yep, exactly. And then we would be firing Eberflus next year when we finally like, okay, this guy's not it. So
and then we miss out on potentially Ben Johnson. And so just to recap the draft, we got Will Campbell at 10, Mike Green at 39, TJ Sanders at 41, Ratledge at 72, Malachi Moore at 148, Cooper Mays, center from Tennessee at 197, and BJ Adams, a corner from UCF at 235. If the Bears drafted like this, I'd be ecstatic. I doubt they'll be able to get all these players, but I think this is a step in the right direction on top of free agency of kind of rebuilding those trenches.
Yeah, I like this draft a lot. The big glaring thing is the no fourth rounder, like you said. And we decided not to trade down, which is fine. But if you don't, you're gonna have to live without that fourth rounder. But yeah, it'd be really nice to have pick 110 or whatever and have a running back there, and that would really make this draft really good. But those top 4 picks, you can't do much better than those top 4 picks.
Yeah, no, considered like this, like the top 4, and I love Will Campbell, obviously. But I will say, like, I think my favorite part of this mock is Mike Green and TJ Sanders within the same 3 picks.
Yeah.
Like, if that was to somehow happen, that would be absolute money. Again, the chances are incredibly slim, but it's possible, right? And look, if that were to happen, Bears fans should be doing backflips.
Yeah, you got Montez Sweat on one side, Mike Green on the other, and then you have Javon Dexter and TJ Sanders on the inside on passing downs. So you got those 4 guys. Like, that's hard to block. And then you have Andrew Billings on early downs. Probably
good D-line.
Get another kind of run stuffer because TJ Sanders is not really that guy. And Javon Dexter hasn't really been that guy, although I think he can be that guy. But if you get another run stuffer in there, like that's an NFL quality defensive line, which we haven't had.
I think it would be a major step up, and I think this definitely addresses. Like, here's my thing: if the Bears can't figure out the trenches this offseason, then we're done. Because they have more than enough assets to address it, and at that point, it's just negligent, and everyone needs to go.
At that point, they need to be investigated for something. I don't know what, but something's up. Like,
well, again, we haven't talked about all the cap room, all of the potential free agents, right? We haven't guys that are going to potentially opt in and out of the team option. Like, the Bears could just go heavy in free agency too. We could have more wiggle room. Like, we're definitely going to have to do another mock post free agency too, but this is just a little pre-free agency before we know the direction they're going to go.
Interested to do like a mock off season, like do a free agency and then a mock. But but thank you so much, Steve, for hopping on. You can find him at CFC Bears. I'll have all his socials and everything linked in the description. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night.